a win-win for everyone. Okay, perfect. All right, welcome to our sheet pan dinner cooking class. So I use sheet pans a lot because they are easy. And one of the things that I was thinking about today, actually, when I was getting ready for this, is that sheet pan, and I never thought about this before, but sheet pans are very similar to a one pot meal that you cook on top of the stove, except they're not everything together, right? So if you cook a one pot meal, it's usually a stew, a chili, or a soup. And if you have picky eaters in your family, that's where the whining happens. That's where all the starts, because they can't pick everything out and they don't like it all together. So a sheet pan is basically the same thing, but it's laid out and they can still have everything individual, which hopefully cuts down on the like the pickiness and the crying and complaining. And then also too, you can, kind of doctor it up however you want. So I like them. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you the formula, because I am big, you guys know, I'm really big with formulas and just simple steps and making things easy. So you can take this formula and then pretty much adapt it to any sheet pan. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm also going to show you how to use this one meal that we're making tonight, or that I'm making tonight. I'm going to show you how to make it, and then I'm going to give you 3 different ideas that you can do with it. So if you wanted to either prep this for another night, you could do that, or you could prep it for the week and then turn it into 3 different meals so that it's not the same, because I'm all about making use of my time in the kitchen and also too, though, being creative and not eating the same thing every day. So I'm going to show you how to do that tonight as well. And I figured, because tonight is Tuesday, right? Taco Tuesday. I thought we would go along that theme, but I would do fajitas with you instead. So you can kind of see that. And then what you are going to get is the exact recipe that I'm using. That's going to be emailed to you after this is over, probably about 8:15 tonight. So you don't have to write any of this down. It's going to be sent to you, so you have it. But this way, visually, you can see how to do it, and then also to just ideas on what to do. Okay. So first of all, the formula for your sheet pans is pretty much the same. So I like things that are 3s. There's Andrea. So I like things that are in 3s. It makes it really easy. So the first thing you're going to start with is your protein, and protein can be pretty much anything. Hey, Andrea, you made it. So I'm going to use chicken tonight because I'm going to do chicken fajitas, but you could do the exact same thing with shrimp. You could do beef. You could do tofu. You could, I don't know, you could do like another fish, something along that line, but you're going to have a protein. That's number 1. And then number 2, again, is veggies. And I love my veggies. So this is where the same as with the Buddha bowl. If you were in that class, you can do you can do a colorful Buddha bowl. You can make sure that this is where your veggies are popping with color. The other thing is too, and this is where, when we keep things simple and we don't get caught up in exactly what the recipe says, or oh my goodness, I need to have this thing. You can use whatever recipes you have in the fridge, right? So a lot of times it, just for example, tonight, the recipe said 1 green pepper, 1 yellow pepper, and 1 red pepper. All I had was yellow peppers. So that's what I'm using tonight. I literally am just using the same thing, but yellow peppers. But that is also where we can get stuck and we won't make the recipe because we don't see a green and a red. So just kind of, think about that when you are doing these, because this is really great, just leftover night too. You can put everything on a pan. Okay. And then the third thing that you are going to use is going to be your fats. So that's any oils. Tonight I'm going to use the olive oil. It could be coconut oil, sesame oil, anything like that. And then your spices and your flavorings. So those are the three main components. Anything extra would be like your potatoes. I know some of you probably do sheet pans like with potatoes or squash. So those are going to be extras and those are going to be carbs. But so this is a very, it can be a very simple, you know, low carbohydrate meal, but you can also add potatoes to that as well, whether it be sweet potatoes or regular ones. Okay, does that make sense? Yes. Okay. So what we are going to do is I'm going to show you. Now, I did all the mixing and the chopping ahead of time, so you guys didn't have to see me do that because that's not any fun. So just want to grab the recipe here. So the spices, I don't make my own spices anymore. I don't buy the packages anymore. I make my own with the spices. And once you get in the habit of doing that, it actually tastes better, I feel like. And then too, one of the things that you guys know is I like to have control of my ingredients. So less sodium. Sometimes there's MSG in the packets, if that gives you headaches, right? This is one way. The sheet pan and making these seasonings is another way that you get to control what is going into your body by keeping it clean and keeping it simple. So the spice mix that we're going to use tonight, I just mixed it all together. It's chili powder. And again, you're going to get this recipe. So it's chili powder, cumin, which I don't know if you've ever used cumin before, but cumin is very popular in Indian and Mexican recipes. It does have a potent like smell to it, but it's very common. And then paprika, and then coriander. So coriander is not a common spice. But again, if you are making your own spices, whether it be Mexican or Indian, coriander, it's a little bit sweeter. And it's just a nice spice. This one was just half a teaspoon of it. So it's not a lot, but it's enough to give it a flavor. And then salt and pepper. And that's it. And you can see it's pretty much the exact same color as if you would take the packet and dump it, right? But it usually ends up being more cost effective because you're buying a large jar and then you're mixing them as you go. So if you did this very often, one of the things that you could do is like triple or quadruple this and keep it in a Tupperware, and then you don't have to mix it every time. Sometimes people like to do that too, but this is the spice, so it is mixed up. And then the protein, like I said, was chicken. So you could do a couple things. It calls for 1.5 pounds of chicken breasts, and then to cut them into strips. So you could actually just buy the strips. That would have been easier, but I cut the breast into the strips, and there's actually more than 1.5 pounds in here because I figured since I'm already cooking it and I already have my oven on, I'm going to do a little bit more so that I can use them later during the week. Okay. And then I'm using the peppers like I showed you. And one of the really, really important things when you're doing the sheet pans is that your food, whether it be the vegetables or the protein, or if you're adding potatoes to it or any other carbs, it should all be the same size. So the peppers are cut into strips and the chicken, right, is cut into strips as well. So your cooking time is going to be pretty even when they're cut the same. If they were blocked, like if it was big chicken pieces, it wouldn't cook the same as the peppers. So that's another thing just to kind of keep in mind when you are doing the pan, just to take a look and see, does everything look uniform? Is it the same? And kind of keep that in mind, right? I know Kelly on Saturday, that was kind of one of your questions. And then I'm adding some onions. So I just chopped up an onion, and again, it's pretty much the same, right? It's like cut that way. The other thing is too, when you are presenting it, and this is one of the things that I know sometimes holds people back if they're not familiar with cooking and just doing different things in the kitchen, when you plate it, when it's all made, it looks much better when it all falls into place and is all uniform, as opposed to if you have like chunky chicken breast, you have, you know, the peppers that are strips, and then you have diced onions. It doesn't go together. And so appealing wise with the eye, it's like, what is that? But if you have everything kind of falling into place, then it's like, oh, this makes sense. And in our brain, we can go ahead and say, okay, we're going to eat it, right? If you've ever kind of felt that way before, it's the same with anything really that you cook, like with stews and anything like that, it should be uniform. And then the other thing is too, I used fresh garlic. So I just chopped it ahead of time. When it is chopped like this, small pieces, it's minced. So if you ever see a recipe and this recipe has it in there, that's why I'm telling you that. This is the minced garlic. So it's fresh garlic that is cut. You can buy in the jars minced garlic. Some people like that. I just prefer holding all of my fruits and vegetables and cutting them, and that's just something that I prefer. So this is the minced garlic, diced cut. So that is it. Those are the ingredients that we're using, and then we're just following that formula. The one difference between probably all the sheet pans would be the spices, right, that you're putting on them. If you were to do a Greek, I know we talked about this with the Buddha bowls. If you were to do a Greek sheet pan chicken dinner, the spices would be different. It would be more of like an olive oil. It would be like oregano, garlic. So the seasonings would be different, but you could do pretty much the same thing with the protein and the vegetables. Okay, if that makes sense. So the other thing with the sheet pans is when you cook it, it has to be at a pretty high temperature. It's usually anywhere from 375 to 400, depending on what you are cooking. So just that's another reason why everything cooks pretty quickly. And at the same time, because it's at a relatively high temperature, and then it doesn't dry out because it's not in the heated oven for so long. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to, and I'm just going to use a regular cookie sheet. So this is just, it's a cookie sheet. I make cookies on it. I roast everything on it. It's a cookie sheet. It is a non-stick one, and I'm not going to spray it because I'm going to also coat everything in oil. So it's going to be enough on there. If you, you could use parchment paper. Actually, if you use parchment paper, which I don't have any right now, it's a real quick cleanup, because then you just throw the paper away and just kind of quickly wash the sheet. But this is this is like, I don't know, probably bigger than like a 9x13 sheet, but it's pretty big. Okay. And then it has the rim on the side, which is nice when you're mixing it. So I'm just going to layer the onions and the veggies on here, and nothing special, except you want there to be space for everything to lay flat. Again, that's another, that's another thing that's going to help with the cooking. And I'm actually going to put everything on, because then, so I'm going to put this on here, because what I'm going to do then is I'm going to nestle the chicken in here. If you have really picky eaters, you could push all the vegetables like on one side and then put the chicken on this side over here. You guys know your families. I just like the flavors when everything is on it together, but you can always do the separate if you wanted to do that. Okay, so then I'm going to put the chicken strips on, and I'm going to, again, they're the strips, right? So we're just going to put them on and make sure that they all have enough space in between. Then after it's all on, that's when I'm going to put the spices on and the olive oil, and just coat everything once it's all on. Okay, And you just want to make sure, again, that it's spaced. And the other thing is, I actually, back here, I did cut, because I know I'm going to be cooking these. Just a complete side note, again, I'm in my kitchen, my oven is on. How can I make my life easier for the rest of the week? I cut up some cauliflower and I quartered some radishes. I'm going to roast these at the same time that my sheet pan is in the oven. So I'm going to have a double batch of roasted vegetables that I can use however I want during the week. Doesn't matter. I can use them in salads. I could use them as a side dish, whatever, but they're ready to go. They're going to go on the bottom. And then my sheet pan is going to go on the top, because I don't want the chicken to burn on the bottom, but the roasted veggies are going to go on there. So this is just how everything looks, right? Pretty basic. And then the fresh garlic is going to go on top, and I'm just going to sprinkle that on top, as well as this is all mixed in here. And just again, right, the more times you do this, the more times you see, as opposed to doing each one. Sometimes, you know, you do each one and then sprinkle it over the top. It will get better coated and more spread out if you mix them together like this first and then spread them over, right? So, and you're just going to spread over top, mix it all. And it's not a spicy one. So it's on there. And then I'm just going to take, it's 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And I usually use the lid as like a marker for myself, like half a tablespoon. And so then I'll just do this, mix it on, and I'm going to toss it, and that's it. And then it goes in the oven. Like easy peasy, especially if you already had like if you bought the chicken strips already stripped and you didn't have to cut them, right? That would be very, very easy. And you can also buy peppers already stripped, like already cut. So it really just depends on how much time you want to spend cutting this then. So, and then I'm just going to mix it all together, right? Just like this. This whole thing is going to go in the oven. It's going to cook at 400 for 20 to 25 minutes. Now, the other thing that I like about the sheet pan is that I don't have to stand over top of the stove now and do anything. It's going to go in the oven and I can walk away and it's hands off. So I can be doing something else. I can be making lunches. I can be helping with homework, you know, whatever it is, but it's done in that 20, 25 minutes again, because everything is pretty much the same size. Everything's uniform. And if you are nervous about the chicken or the protein, whatever protein you're using, err on the longer side before taking it out. So you could go for the 23 to 25 minutes if that makes you feel better. It's okay. It's okay. And so everything here is coated. Can you guys see that? It's coated with the oil, and then it's got the spices on it. I can smell it. I can smell the fajita spices. So while this is cooking in the oven, you could be getting your tortilla bar ready. You could get your tortillas, your guacamole, your salsa, your sour cream, you know, whatever cheese, whatever you put on top. So this comes out again. You don't even have to take this off of the pan and put it in anything else for easy cleanup. Just set on the table and everybody can scoop and take what they want. So within half an hour, like 30 minutes, you can have a pretty filling meal, right? Now, this is where this, for my family, would be a lot, because it's really just, it's me and my husband and then my little one. So she doesn't eat a lot. This is going to be a lot. And I told you I would tell you 3 different meals that you could make with it. So the first one obviously is the fajitas, or the tacos, whatever. The second one is you can use a fajita salad. So you would put the roasted chicken and peppers and onions and make a salad. And if you're working out of the home, even if you're not working out of the home, I found that making it ahead of time. So you can put it on top of your lettuce, your spinach, your arugula, whatever it is. Put it in your Tupperware for the week, 2 or 3 of these, and you're good to go for lunches. And then you can use different toppings on it if you want. You can even throw some cheese in it. That can be one thing. Then another meal would be very similar to the Buddha meal that we talked about, or just adding another rice with it. So you could do a Spanish rice and still have that same fajita, feel with that. You could do the Spanish rice, you could do white rice, you could do brown rice, and then you're just going to take, again, everything and just plate it on there and do 2 or 3 bowls, and then you have that for the week. So you can have 3 meals out of this completely separate, that that you can eat. You could even do, if you wanted to do half chicken and half shrimp, you could do that for a little bit of variety. The only thing with the shrimp is it doesn't have to cook as long. So you could add it or take it off, halfway through, probably like 10 minutes, because it just has to be pink. So just keep that in mind. If you're switching your protein and you're doing like half and half, you could do that. You could do the same thing with tofu, with the beef. You could do the real thin cuts with the beef as well. So there you go. Ta-da! You have a very easy dinner that turned into 3 different meals, and really, really very simple. And if you've got kids at all, they can help you in the kitchen doing this. And your formula, right? Protein, veggies, and then whatever oil and seasonings you're looking to do. So any thoughts, any questions, any suggestions?
Would you turn it over halfway through or mix it, or would you just leave it for the straight 25 minutes?
Probably would do a little mixing in there. You don't necessarily have to. If it was low, then just make sure that it's not burning, but it should be it should cook pretty evenly with that. But again, to be on the safe side. So one of the things that I like to do as well is to make sure that especially with a dinner like this, right, everything is cooking together, all in the juices. So when you do a toss like that, then it captures all the juices, it stays moist, it stays fresh with that. And then actually when this comes out, and this is in the recipe too, you will take a lime and you will squeeze a lime on it. So that will really just bring out some of the flavor as well. So I forgot to mention that, but yeah, you could do a little toss in between.
The fact that you can get 3 different meals out of what you've baked.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Could you put all the ingredients in a bowl and toss it then, or
Yes.
is it too much? Okay.
So it was going to be too much for me in here.
Right.
But yes, you could. And then that way, so that's what I did with the radishes and the cauliflower, is I put everything in one bowl and tossed it so it's even. And then I'm just going to do salt and pepper on this, but yeah, you can. And then it's more even, because the other thing is too, again, remember, when you're getting used to cooking in the kitchen and using the tools and just baking sheets and things like that, you can over exaggerate, and you could flip over, right? And you forget that this is just like a little, you think it's taller than it is, and it might end up on the floor or on the counter or something like that. So it's always safe to do it in the bowl, so that you're not getting frustrated and upset. But yeah, that's an easy one too, to do that.
Christy, some hints as to what you're going to do with the cauliflower and the radish.
Yes. So first of all, have you ever roasted radishes before? Okay. I think, Wendy, it was a recipe probably from Ilana that I had gotten it from like a couple of years ago. I don't like raw radishes because they're very, very pungent and they have a strong flavor. My husband loves them, but I don't like them. I read somewhere that when you roast the radish, it tastes similar to like a red potato. You can still taste a little like again, right? It's not going to taste like a red potato because it's not a red potato, but it does have very similar taste to it. And what I'll do with this, Brenda, is I'm just going to put some salt and pepper on it, and I will use it probably tomorrow when I come back from my workout. I'll do like a breakfast hash, and I'll quick saute it with some cabbage, and then I'll throw an egg on top of it. That will be very filling because I'll have like all those vegetables in me for the morning. But the other thing that I like to do, so talking about comfort food and in the winter time, you know, our body tends to crave the warmer foods. I will warm these up and I'll put the roasted vegetables on top of my salad instead of the raw ones as something different. And then I'll use that. So whatever really I would use anything roasted for is what I will use the roasted radishes for. So try them. And so cooking them, I'm going to pop them in the oven at the same time. So it's going to be 400, and I'm going to cook it pretty much the same, like the same time. I'll check it like 12-15 minutes for these because they're going to be on the bottom shelf, but that's really like, they'll both go in at the same time and then they'll both come out at the same time. So if I wanted to, I could also combine these vegetables with like the chicken on here, right? And make a different kind of a salad with that. So yeah, that's what I would do with them. Yeah, so now you have a recipe that you can use for the week. And these are all things that we're going to kind of just be walking through in our program in January too. It's just getting you more comfortable with doing these things. What are the spices? What do you need? You know, the tools, all of those things to get you confident in the kitchen with that. So any other questions or thoughts? Something you can use? Also, these, like, I've done a version of these chicken fajitas also with adding a can of diced tomatoes, like the mini diced tomatoes in here. So it kind of has a tomato base. However, you know, depending on your family and who likes that and who doesn't like that, that's an option too, just to add a different, like, so it's not so dry, just to add a different kind of flavor to that as well. So yeah. So
I did buy some tofu this week, but I don't have a meal in mind for it. But if I was going to roast it, how long would it need to be roasted for?
So is it a firm tofu?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I probably would do with that is I would prep it. So just drain the water out of it and then dice it, like block it. And I would dry fry it. I don't know if you've ever done that before adding it to the sheet pan, because when you dry
any oil with that, or just no. Okay.
No. So you just put it in the frying pan, a non-stick one though. Don't put it in like aluminum one, a metal one, because it will stick to it. Like 2 or 3 minutes on each side so it gets brown. Then you could add it to here and it wouldn't get mushy, because I think if you were to do a stir like halfway through, it would break apart and it would get mushy. But when you dry fry it, it has like a little bit of a browning on the edge of it. And so it holds up. But yeah, that would be good. That would be good. Yeah. You could even probably, I'm just thinking, before you dry fried it, you could even probably sprinkle like a little bit of the spices on it, so it would stick to it. Just a little bit though, because you want to save some for the veggies, but yeah, you probably could do a little bit of that, like the spices on there too. Yeah, it's a good idea.
So say you wanted to do a stir fry, what kind of seasonings would you use for that?
Ooh. So, you would definitely, I would use a sesame oil instead of an olive oil.
Okay.
And probably what I would do with that, I don't even know, well, garlic and ginger. So I would say, I, again, love the fresh ginger, and either grating the fresh ginger or just chopping it really small. So fresh ginger, fresh garlic. And then if you even just did a marinade in the coconut aminos with the ginger and the garlic, coconut aminos, you probably have to put like some water in there. So if you did like 1/4 of a cup of coconut aminos and then like 1/8 of a cup of water, and then you like just toss it in sesame oil, that would probably be, that'd be good.
Are you talking about doing this with the tofu as a stir fry? Or the chicken?
Either.
Well,
What did you want, Kelly? Chicken or tofu?
I want to try tofu.
Yeah. So dry fry the tofu
Mhm.
and then put the sauce on it, because if you don't, one thing that the tofu will do because you're going to push the water out of it. So you definitely want to do that first, but then if you add more liquid to it, again, it will just soak it up and it won't share it with the veggies. So dry fry it so it can hold the flavor, but it also won't like just literally suck everything up.
Does it have a strong taste or like no taste? Or I just imagine no taste.
No
Is it
taste. You know what? It reminds me of like an avocado, because an avocado pretty much takes on the taste of whatever you put on it. And so tofu does that. Tofu really just, if you put sesame oil on it or soy sauce, it's going to take on that flavor. If you do like a Mexican, it's going to do that. It takes on, it's very bland. If you eat it by itself, Julia, it's like blah, like there's nothing. I don't think there's anything really exciting about it, but when you add a marinade to it or add a flavor to it, it's really good. And I've actually even used the silk one, so the soft one, and I've used it to make an omelet. And then you just mix it with flour and water in the blender, and you'll make an omelet with it. And then I put my veggies in it too. And then it just, I mean, you have to put spices, nutritional yeast actually, Brenda, with that. So it adds like some flavor to it because it really has nothing. So.
And why are you doing that? Are you because of cholesterol and eggs, or I'm just curious?
So for me, it just, when I was like at the very beginning of my health journey, I was trying to eat everything plant-based because I was like, no meat, no meat, no meat. Then I just kind of, I like to try new things, and I like to try, you know, I'm not afraid of trying new things. And so it has nothing to do with cholesterol or eggs or anything for me. It's just, I like to try it and experience new things. However, the more that I've kind of looked into the clean eating piece of everything and just making simple whole food choices, tofu is manufactured and processed, right? So there are other things in there where if I'm just going to have an egg, it's just purely from the chicken. So just kind of, you know, with that, but once in a while, it's nice to have variety.
So if you put tofu in your omelet, would you share that with your family? Would you tell them? Or would you?
They wouldn't touch it. It's not the same. The texture is different. My husband would look at me like I had 10 heads, and my daughter would be like, not even eating this, Mom. So no, but thank you.
I did one.
That's one dish that I would not be able to pass by them at all.
I wanted to share, guys, my cousin made a beef stew this week, and she put a butternut squash in it.
Yeah.
And So I asked her, I said, did you add it at the end? And she said, no. I said, well, was it mushy? And she said, well, it was soft. It was, but she really enjoyed it. And, her mom's 94. So, it was kind of a perfect full meal for beef stew and a vegetable. So I've never tried that.
Butternut squash in stew there's just something that it does add. It adds another element to it. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I made a lentil soup today, and in the Instant Pot, but I was trying to use everything that I had, and I had actually bought cubed butternut squash already this week, and the soup called for a peeled potato, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to throw like a handful of the butternut squash in, and it was good. It was delicious. It cooked down. It wasn't like terribly soggy, and but it was different than a potato, but it was nice. It was nice. So yeah.
I use butternut squash in my chili sometimes.
That's good too. Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And then, you know what, if you try it and you don't like it, then you just remember next time, okay, I'm not going to do that, or I didn't like the way that tasted. Tofu though is a whole beast of its own. And if you have never cooked with tofu before, it can be very intimidating. So it is one of those things, but pretty much any vegetable or anything along that line is pretty easy to figure out.
What we asked is, when you talked about your how you fry it, we've baked it and put like lemon pepper or some sort of Mexican spice, and keep it separate. Use it in your salads. It's like a crouton. It's
good. Yeah, it's it's definitely a different, a different texture and a different, something different when you're doing it. And baking it, you can do the same thing too. So yeah, I've grilled it before too. Like, do a slab of it, not the squares of it, but do it like a slab, and cut the slab into thirds. And then whatever marinade we're using on the grill with the chicken or the beef, I will just do a separate one with the tofu, and then just grill it up, and that will be my protein for the meal. So it's very adaptable, very adaptable. So yeah. So if you try it, Kelly, with the sheet pan with the tofu, I would love to know what you did and how you how you marinated that, how you seasoned that.
Will do.
Yes. Keep us posted. Awesome. So there you go. You will have the recipe, so you can use that. And then don't forget, this Saturday we're going to do protein balls. So I was thinking today specifically too, for those times where over the next couple of weeks, if we've got Christmas cookies around, the protein balls will be a really nice option if you need something sweet or something, to kind of like get over that Christmas cookie sugar thing. These will be really nice options. So we'll give you a couple different recipes for that one as well. And we'll show you some different ways to make them. So thank you, ladies, for taking time out of your schedule and letting me come into your home tonight. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to start recording, and